Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today is going to be another special day. We're going to do another look back, this time to 1980 and Strategy and Tactics issue number 79. It is the March-April issue and it has Berlin 85, The Enemy at the Gates. This is a Jim Dunnigan game and this is another SPI classic. I'd played this years ago. A friend of mine had a copy. I remember playing it because it is a city fight in West Berlin. And that's about the only thing I do remember about it. It was real fun. We had a lot of good time with it, but I haven't played it since, and I wanted to get a copy of it. So I was able to get an unpunched copy of it, and we're going to take a look at not only the game, but also the magazine. As we continue to do these look backs, we'll be able to take a step back in time and kind of relive a little bit of our youth by looking through these magazines that we saw when we were younger, as well as the games themselves. So we'll first take a closer look at the game, and then the magazine itself. And we start off with the rule book, and we have our counter sheet, 200 counters, and then the map. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the map that comes with the game. It is a classic Red Simonson map, and West Berlin is the focal point of the game, as the Pact forces are going to come in, try to take West Berlin from NATO. It is also the focal point of the map here in the center. It is a very dense area. You've got a lot of urban and industrial buildup here, as well as the airfield. He really conveys it very well on this map. And I don't really remember all the details of playing. I just remember that I did play, and it was a really tense fight because it felt like, as it would feel in a city fight, like a knife fight in a phone booth, because you don't have a lot of room for maneuver. You don't have long engagement ranges, which doesn't matter here anyway, because you're going to have to be hex to hex with each other. But it really conveyed the good sense of what it's like to fight in built-up terrain. So looking forward to playing this one again after I do this little look back here, and we have a little shared stroll down memory lane. I'm going to turn the map lengthwise so you can see it full on, and then also we'll take a closer look at the tables that are at the top of the map. And with the map straight up and down like this, you can more easily read the text as well as see more of the details on the map. West Berlin, the focal point in the center. You have the US zone, the French zone, and the British zone. This thick red line that goes through, these thick red lines, I should say, that go through, those are the Autobahn. The blue lines are the U-Bahn. You also have roads, rail lines going through the map, and then these red stars are objective hexes, so a lot of objective hexes. And then, of course, you have all these supply points that are dotting the center of West Berlin. So a very busy map, and something that you can pore over in good detail when you're playing at solitaire or with a friend. And we'll zoom in on the tables. We have our terrain key here, the honors of war table, the terrain effects chart, combat results table, and then the collateral damage table on the far right. Beneath that, we have the survival table and then the reinforcements table. Next to that, we have the scatter diagram. We have an example of retreat. Then we have the scale here, 1 to 2 kilometers on the map. Then we have the surrender points track for both the NATO and Warsaw Pact forces, and then the turn record track along the bottom. And the map is oriented north, is facing this way, south is facing towards the bottom of the map. And we'll take a look at the counter sheet that comes with the game. At the top, we have the Soviet forces. Beneath that, we have the East Berlin police, and then East German military forces. Over here, we have the West Berlin police, French units, United Kingdom units, and United States units. Below that, we have West German forces. Then we have administrative counters at the bottom, and these are all ruins markers, which you'd expect there'll be plenty of those, being that the game is set in such a dense urban area. And we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 12-page rulebook. On the front cover, we have the listing of all the rules by case number. On the inside of the front cover, we get to the introduction, the game equipment, the playing pieces, and a listing of all the different counters and how to read them. The unit sizes that are in the game, definition of terms, the game scale, parts inventory, and then setting up the game starts on page 3. Give you the sequence of play, explanation of movement and effects of terrain on movement, effects of other friendly units, zones of control, effects on movement for zones of control, multiple zones. Then we get into combat on page 4, combat procedures, which units attack, multi-unit and multi-hex combat, combat strength unity, effects of terrain, combat resolution, diversionary attacks, and then how to retreat, displacement, how to use your artillery, barrage attacks for artillery. Then we have combined attacks, adjacent attacks, and then your FPF. Defense, terrain effects, unit integrity, poison gas, and then that is actually an optional rule. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. Then we get to air power, restrictions and prohibitions, air superiority, and then collateral damage, because you're in a built-up urban area. It's going to be a lot of collateral damage here. Untried unit strength, bridge demolition, reinforcements, supply, the U-Bahn, how to use that, the night game turns, and then NATO emergency reinforcements, and then the reinforcement table results. Paratroops. Remember we saw the scatter box on the map? That is what you're going to be using that for. Then we have the scatter diagram, paratroop destruction, drop eligibility, first turn restrictions, survival table, honors of war, and how that works. Then restrictions there, then surrender points record track, victory conditions on page 10, and then we start with these scenarios on page 10 as well. Operation Unity is the first, the second is Operation Werewolf, then we have Operation Medicine Wheel, and that is the final scenario in the game, and on the back we have the counter manifest. Now we'll take a look through the magazine. We have the game itself on the front cover, Berlin 85, the enemy at the gates. At the bottom it says it also covers the Battle for Stalingrad, chemical warfare capabilities, modern Cobra, and Wilson's Creek and Dragon Slayer updates inside this issue. And as I said, this is the March-April issue of 1980. We've got the listing of the articles in the magazine. We also have some outgoing mail. Empires of the Middle Ages, a dynamic simulation of medieval Europe, 771 to 1467, formerly known as medieval. And that is available from SPI in April of 1980 for the princely sum of $18. And then we get to the article on Berlin 85, where it's going to talk about the posited attack by the Pact on West Berlin, which is what the game is about. And they're going to have a nice long article on it here. For your eyes only, an open intelligence summary of current military affairs. Always interesting to read those. Battle for Stalingrad, the struggle for the city, September to November 1942. Another nice lengthy article, informative and fun to read. And talk about tactics and the commanders in the Battle of Stalingrad, air power, the heavies. Outgoing mail continues on from the front. Men, Arms, and Freedom. Wow, this definitely jumps right out at you. The $2,160 war game. That's right, $2,160, and Computer Bismarck is worth every cent of it. Man, $2,100 is a lot of cheese back in 1980, let me tell you. And it goes on to talk about playing on the computer and how the computer remembers all the rules for you. If you could play a human opponent with the computer as the perfect referee, neither player can make an illegal move. Truly blind wargaming with no errors. If the game is interrupted, the computer saves it on a mini disc for resumption later. You can also play the computer, and like War College War Games is the pitch here, and then the war game of the future. It says here, Computer Bismarck is the first of many computer war games from Strategic Simulations, Inc. But to play any of them, you'll need a suitable video-equipped home computer. For about $2,100, you can get an Apple II Plus or the older Apple II with an Apple Soft firmware card with 48K memory and a mini floppy disk drive. An additional $60 gets you Computer Bismarck, including the game program on minidisc and 2 mapboard charts for plotting your strategies between moves. 2 system command charts, a setup instruction sheet, and a long and complicated rulebook, which you never have to read because the computer administers the game. Wow, that's a great sales pitch. You only need to spend $2,100 to get yourself a computer, and then you can get $60 more and it'll get the game. That's pretty interesting. Good pitch there from SSI, but it's pretty neat looking back at these. That's why I like looking at these magazines. You get to see how things were back in the day and how many of us salivated over the thought of these things and thought, wow, in the future, computers will be a big thing. Now we do everything on a computer. We have a phone that is way more stronger than any of these computers were back then. Then we have briefings here, game rating chart, feedback and questions, and then the Battle for Stalingrad here at the back of the magazine. You can get it now from SPI and in stores nationwide for only $15. And that is a look back at everything you get inside of Berlin 85, The Enemy at the Gates. This is a game designed by Jim Dunnigan and published in Strategy and Tactics magazine, issue number 79, March, April 1980. think it's pretty neat to take a look back at these games. To take that stroll down memory lane, read through the magazine, and check out the game itself, especially if you're lucky and you can get a unpunched copy of the game, it's pretty neat to be able to get it, to punch it yourself, get it out on the table, and play. Now, I know a lot of these games are available on Vassal, but there's just something special to me, I think, about sitting down with the paper map and the counters and the rule book and playing the game the way it was meant to be played. And being that it is a hypothetical World War III game, you know I'm definitely in on it. Berlin 85, that's the big renaissance right now that's going on, is these World War III games, this hypothetical World War III. So it's pretty neat to get hold of this again, and looking forward to getting this one on the table. Well, I hope you enjoyed the trip back down memory lane and checking out the magazine and the game itself. You have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.